Hello everyone, and welcome again to Ms. T.L.L. Literacy's English First Additional Language Lessons. We are still again on creative writing, and we are looking in the shorter transactional piece segment, where we are going to now look into the writing of a diary, which I believe is one of the easiest pieces. However, the confusion, I'm going to tell you the mistakes that candidates make that you need to be careful or be mindful of when you write a diary entry. Now let us look into the definition before we can even get into the format and structure of a diary. The definition is that a diary entry is a personal account of events, thoughts and feelings that the writer has experienced. And then features of a diary entry is that the language is informal and the tone is a bit chatty, meaning conversational. Feel free to express emotions. Use the first person I and me. The audience for diary entry is usually only the writer. Alright, what is important is that a diary entry is used to express emotions. So when you are asked to write a diary entry, ensure that you express emotions as guided by the question. I've been repeating every time when we do various transactional pieces, it's that you are guided by the question. You'll be given a scenario in the form of a question, and then from there you will deduce the response from the question. So in a diary entry, do not narrate. One of the mistakes, or the biggest mistakes that most candidates commit, is that they tend to narrate. Remember, when you narrate, it's when you tell a story, more like in an essay. This is a shorter transactional piece, meaning that your response should be between 80 to 100 words. Even though the examiner can still say write 2 diary entries. Remember, at times you need to be take into cognizance the fact that the nature of examining this transactional piece is that candidate must know that at times an examiner can say write 2 diary entries. At times an examiner can say just write a single diary entry. Even though the examiner says 2 diary entries, it does not mean one equates to 80 to 100, then another entry is between 80 to 100. It means that both entries that you write, both of them, they must not exceed 100 words. So therefore, there's no space and chance for you to narrate. Do not tell a story. But what is important, express emotions. Okay? Use those emotive words and adjectives to describe the state of your emotions. Right? And then without repeating, and also avoid synonymous words. For an example, when you say I am happy, I am excited, I am I feel joyful, and joyful and happy, some they're almost synonymous. Okay, so do not sound redundant by repeating the same emotions over and over again. Play around with emotions, but bear in mind that you are guided by the scenario, you are guided by the question. Now let us have an example where we have a question, and then from the question I will show you how to now write a diary entry, not forgetting that we must know the format and structure. What is that you must include in a diary entry, and then also the date, such as day and date, and then writing it in the first person, I and me, and then bearing in mind the required number of words. Now let us look into the example. Now the example is that you are in grade 12 and you have been experiencing mixed feelings about the final examination. Write down your diary entries for the following 2 days, and then the first entry you must write before the examination starts, and then the second entry you are going to express your emotion on the last day of the examination. Normally that is how examiners question this or examine this shorter transactional piece. I'll make another example. Let's say you are going for an interview, and then the examiner will say write the first diary entry where you express emotions as to how you felt prior going to the interview, and then of course the second one will be dedicated to how you felt after the interview. Now in the case of such, where you are asked to write 2 diary entries, you cannot have the same emotions in the 2 diary entries. Remember, this is creative writing. You need to become very much creative so that you don't sound redundant. Okay, now in the first entry, you can be nervous and whatsoever. If that is the case, in the second entry, there must be a sense of relief, so that there's contrast between the two diary entries. If you were excited in the first entry, maybe in the second entry you can be sad. I'm just making an example so that there can be a contrast to avoid having the same emotions. Now let us look into the plan as to how you plan. Read the question carefully. Identify the keywords to use in planning in this topic. The keywords are mixed feelings, final examination, day before, last day of the examination, and diary entries. Now, what I would advise you to do when you write a diary entry, in your plan, depending on the nature of the question, right? Like here, the examiner said that you are having mixed emotions. In your plan, you say first entry, and then you make a circle, or whichever way or format that you use to make your mind map. Now fill that mind map with what emotions. Again, for an example, you can say here nervous, and you can say maybe happy because it says mixed emotions. Another emotion that you can include is that you may be nervous, you may be happy, you may anticipate the future what's going to happen. You just fill it up with emotion, and then you say second entry. You go back to the question, the day before the examination starts and the last day of the examination. Last day of the examination, what emotions am I going to write about? I feel relieved. Okay. I'm anxious. I am a bit sad because school is about to end. So you detail all the emotions that you are going to use, right? Now it will be easier now when you go to write your diary entry, because when you go back to your planning, you just pick up the emotions that you are going to state. But what I have said, or the advice that I would give you, is that if the examiner asks you to write 2 diary entries, do not duplicate the same emotions. Okay, like let me make another example with planning. I'm going for an interview. The first entry will be, of course I am nervous, of course I am anxious, I wonder how the interview will go, but after the interview I feel relieved, I feel happy. Perhaps it's because I was able to answer all the interview questions. Okay, so can you see the contrast between the emotions prior in the first entry and then after in the second entry, so that you avoid having the same emotions over and over again? And then please also ensure that you enrich your vocabulary. Avoid synonymous emotions where now you're going to sound like you're saying the same thing over and over again. Okay, now let us look into the structure and format. This was just the planning, and then of course now from the planning, let us look into how should you write your diary entry. Correct. Now the date, this is how you write your date in your diary entry. You start with the day, and then day as in like mentioning the name of the whether it's a Tuesday, whatever, Monday, and then you write the date like this and the year, right? And then the first entry said I feel. Remember, do not narrate. When you narrate, it's when you start saying I went to the shops before the interview, before writing of the question paper, we were sitting with my friends, and now you are telling a story. Do not narrate. What you need to do is to do what? Express emotions. Okay. Now let us look into how this diary entry. Remember, it's because the question said that you have mixed emotions about writing final examination in your first one, and then the second one, it should be when now you are writing your last paper. So you start with the day. After the day, you come up with what? The date, like this. I feel stressed. Here's the emotion, but excited. Remember, the question said mixed emotions, right? But excited, as this is the beginning of the end, my final high school chapter. I'm nervous because I don't know what to expect. Did I study enough? My whole school career is almost over. exceptional, very good. Okay, and then the second one, that month flashed by, it's over, a huge burden has been lifted off me. This is an emotion as well, because if it's a burden lifted off me, it's the same way as that you have been relieved. So the emotion is that you are happy. I gave it my best. All I can do is wait for the result. I feel a bit sad. Here's another emotion too. School is almost what? Is almost over. Short, straight to the point. What is important is that the emotions are there, the emotions are stated, bearing in mind that you need to adhere to 80 to 100 words. And then what is also important, after writing, you need to indicate the total number of words. Please, I forgot to emphasize that in in our previous videos where we have been doing other transactional writings, that you need to emphasize the number of words, and then word count is 87. Remember that you need to adhere between 80 and do not exceed 100 words. So in essence, a diary entry is used to express emotions. When you are examiners ask you to write 2 diary entries, show contrast in the 2 diary entries, and then avoid repetitions of emotions. Come up with other words or other descriptive words to describe your emotions, and that's how you write your diary entry. Not forgetting that in a diary we do not narrate, we don't tell a story, but we simply express what emotions based on the question, even though the examiner may say. And then also bear in mind that the manner in which this transactional writing is examined, you may be asked to write a single diary entry, which can be one chunky paragraph that does not exceed 100 words, or it can be 2 entries like in this fashion. And then it does not mean this should be 80 to 100, 80 to 100. The 2 diary entries, both of them joined, must not exceed 100 words. So in essence, just express emotions, avoid narrating and telling a story in a diary format, and then ensure that your diary shows contrast of emotions where you are asked to document diary entries for 2 days. Thank you so much, and please make sure that you interpret the questions accordingly in order to write the correct response. Thank you. I believe this will be helpful in preparation for writing paper 3.